Hi, my name is John Petty, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Growing Up in Flip Flops. This episode I have entitled My Most Embarrassing Moment. Yes, this is my most embarrassing moment. Thankfully, it occurred early in my life during high school, and I know everyone has had a most embarrassing moment, but here is mine. I was dating a girl during fall football season. I asked her to accompany me to a Friday night football game. Now, this was late fall. It was a cool evening. Before we were to go out, she asked, well, could a friend of mine, a male friend of mine, accompany us to the game? Well, it's a friend of mine. I assumed a friend of hers. So, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go. I mean, there wasn't any really thing special going to a football game. Well, she brought along because it was cool that evening, a lap blanket. We go up in the football stand. She is seated between my friend and I. Now, this girl, very attractive young lady, she had long blonde hair, and it was a fairly breezy evening. Well, again, it's cool. We've got this lap blanket. I have my hands under, or a hand under the lap blanket in her lap, holding her hand. We were dating, that was it, and had the lap blanket. I'm sitting there holding her hand, and just, I don't know, out of nervous, but you sit there and you squeeze the fingers and you move your fingers around when you're holding the hand seated, and just, like clasping her thumb and giving it a squeeze around. So I'm doing that and looking at her and smiling and watching the game and talking to my friend, and everything's going along smoothly and swimmingly. Well, a big gust of wind comes along. It absolutely just musses up her hair. She had beautiful long blonde hair. She did not have it pulled back or anything, just had it loose at the time. Messed up her hair. So she takes out her hands from underneath the blanket. She spreads her fingers and runs her fingers through her hair to straighten out her hair and get it everything straight. Well, I happen to look down. I'm still holding a hand. What? And she's straightening her hair, and I look down. I look at her, and I happen to look across at my friend. He has his hand underneath the blanket in her lap. This entire time, I have been holding his hand and squeezing and fumbling with his fingers underneath the blanket. I immediately release. He releases. Trust me, there are 1,000 questions that were running through my head at the time. There are 1,000 questions I still don't have answered. I I looked at her, and I mean, our hands had been in her lap. What was she thinking? I found out. She turns to me, and I said, "What's going on?" And she says, "Well, Bob and I are have been seeing each other." I thought we were dating. Well, I've been seeing Bob too, and I wanted, I didn't want to turn Bob down. I wanted to have Bob, and great. You know, you kids want to be together, great. I'm fine. See ya. Go home with Bob. Bob can drive you home. I'm out of here. That's it. Now, I'm sure you have questions. She had two guys with their hands in her lap, and she wasn't holding their hands. So what was she thinking when she had these hands in her lap? I'm assuming, this is the only thing I can come up with, she knew what my reaction would be if she acknowledged that we were holding each other's hands, that would have spilled the beans, so to speak, and she just decided to keep her mouth shut and keep quiet. But yeah, I sat through probably a quarter and a half of a football game holding a friend of mine's hand in my supposed girlfriend's lap. Oh well, I found out which side the bread was buttered on that day. Again, thankfully, if that's my most embarrassing point of my life, knock on wood, that I experienced it early and without too much trauma, and not too many people saw it, just the three of us, and that was it. Uh, and answering other questions, yeah, I didn't really continue a friendship with that guy after that. And no, I didn't go out with that girl again. I was done with her and had nothing to do with it. I guess my little lesson in this is pay attention to your surroundings. And it's that good old adage that I like to live with. If you can't be a shining example, at least you can serve as a horrible warning. Again, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed.